Very well.
So, when I say Team Fortress 2, you probably just think of Team Fortress 2, right? But has it ever really came across your mind that it's Team Fortress, well, 2? Most people probably don't think about it when they play, but I always did. And then I realized that Team Fortress 1 was indeed a thing, and you could get it on Steam. Now, first off, I'm gonna go ahead and say I would definitely not recommend buying this game. Now, I like the game and all, but please, 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 for the love of God, just buy the complete pack. It has this plus so many more games, and it's just a way better deal than just buying this for 10 bucks, or I think it's 5 bucks now. So, let's get right into it. So, Team Fortress Classic is pretty well the same as Team Fortress 2 gameplay-wise. It's a team-based shooter where there are two teams, red and blue, and there are different classes for each individual team. Sounds simple enough. And in fact, it really is. Because, it's Team Fortress 2. But let's be honest here. Does it really get too much hate? I'd say so. Like, for real. I don't get what's so wrong with it. I mean, it's Team Fortress 2, right? Well, that's not true. One, the community is totally different, whether that be for better or for worse. For example, there are less bots because of this. In fact, I don't think I've ever encountered a bot. Like, ever. Second off, there's a lot of weapons that aren't actually in Team Fortress 2, which I think is really cool, because that way you get some differences playing this compared to that. For example, the Scout has an SMG weapon instead of a shotgun, which honestly is totally different than what Scout is now, so if you're a Scout main, it's kind of hard to play Scout on this. I think that it's kind of cool because this is what Team Fortress 2 was going to be like. Scout was originally going to have an SMG. That's a little bit of trivia for you. You can look up like a pre-launch. It was some form of trailer for it. But second off, let's talk about the classes. The classes do not have personality like in Team Fortress 2. Don't expect to find any Team Fortress Classic Meet the Team videos. Which is kind of a shame, honestly. I feel like if this game had a bit more character, it'd still be pretty active today. Speaking of which, the game is still pretty active. I had no trouble finding a server. It's just, I hope you like this game's version of 2 Fort, because that's all you're going to be playing on. Yeah, that's another bad part about playing this nowadays. All you get to see is 2 Fort, and it kind of makes you wonder what the old maps were like. Because I'm just gonna go ahead and admit, I did not play this when it came out. No. But, so, that was kind of bad. But, all the classes are the same. And the servers are pretty active, but unfortunately you can't get community servers like you can in Team Fortress 2. Well, that's not what I mean. I mean, all the servers you play on are pretty well, community servers, but, it's not the same. Then again, I guess you really don't need the level of community servers, because, like, Team Fortress 2 is out, and Team Fortress 2 is better than this, and I can't even lie. It is. The community just isn't the same, the controls are incredibly hard to get used to, and it just doesn't feel like a Team Fortress game. But I guess I really can't judge too much, because without this, we wouldn't have Team Fortress 2. Also, here's a little bit of trivia for you, and trivia that I'm pretty sure you already knew, because it's everywhere, but basically, Team Fortress 2 was originally going to be called Team Fortress 2 Brotherhood of Arms. And it was originally a Half-Life 2 mod, I believe. Well, okay, so basically Team Fortress 2 was a Half-Life mod, and Valve was going to release it as Team Fortress 2 Brotherhood of Arms. And what it was like a darker war game. Well, it wasn't dark, of course. It didn't have a campaign or anything. But it would have been kind of like Day of Defeat, but in like modern times, which I feel like would be pretty cool. Which, I feel like that would be an interesting game for Valve to release, which, they're never gonna release it. They don't update their games, let alone release new ones, but it would be awesome if they would release that at some point, because, you know, that way we would get to see the Team Fortress 2 that never was. Also, you'll notice that everyone that's Scout looks the same, everyone that's Sniper looks the same. And you're probably thinking, oh, well, they just didn't want to spend money on this game. No, there's just no hats. That's why the game costs money. There's nothing to pay for in it. You get everything when it starts out. Which I feel like, I mean, I say I hate games filled with microtransactions, but Team Fortress 2, you know, like, it's a free-to-play game. I feel like that's okay, that it costs, that there's purchasables in this, but they just shouldn't add it to this because it's already free. But it is kind of different, meaning there's no hats and there's no different weapons, which that's the other thing that makes this game boring. I found that with Team Fortress 2, you can experiment with different classes and different weapons, which is practically infinite. You know, like, you can never truly get done with that. But with this, you only have, you know, your 9 classes. That's all. That is all you're gonna experiment with, which is honestly a shame. But I will be honest, the 2 Fort map is pretty neat because you kind of get to see what people played on back then, and it's kind of interesting to think about. This game did actually get a player base, you know, people played this, and it's so neat to just see what they would call 2 Fort compared to TF2. But like I said, I feel like without the bots, it almost feels wrong playing it, and the problem with this is that people have been playing for so long, there's not really room for new players to get in and all that. Plus, the gameplay is so unclear at times. Like, I feel like Team Deathmatch is what this reminds me of, when in all actuality, it's capture the flag. It's kind of like a 2 Fort server, you know, no cap, but in this you don't really need to worry about that, considering the sole purpose of not capping in 2 Fort is so bots don't swarm the server. But one interesting thing I noticed is that all classes have a ridiculous amount of weapons. I mean, sure, Scout only has 3, but let's look at a little different class. And that, of course, would be Pyro. Yup, one of my personal favorite classes in Team Fortress 2, honestly. But Pyro in this is a little different. He not only has a, you know, shotgun, flamethrower, and fire axe. No, instead he has a crowbar, a shotgun, a flamethrower, and a rocket launcher. See, like, I don't think we could ever imagine Pyro with that. It'd just be really weird, and I have absolutely no clue why they would add a rocket launcher. I mean, like, what does a rocket launcher even have to do with pyrotechnics? I mean, I'm no expert on the subject, but wouldn't it seem to me that pyrotechnics is fire? I mean, I don't know. So, this game, while it is still pretty fun, it's just not worth playing when you have a better game like Team Fortress 2 out on the market. But yeah, that's pretty well all I have to say about this. If you're thinking about playing this, buy it with the Valve Complete pack, guys, please. I'm trying to look out for you here. It's gonna be so much better. But anyways, that's gonna be all for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe.